Hello guys, welcome back to Reaction. I'm Peter.
I'm Vicky.
Welcome for today's episode, and it's something new. Why Detroit? Detroit. The title for today's episode is why Detroit couldn't let go of drum brakes. Drum brakes. I think drum brakes are for cars. Brakes are for machines, for locomotives. Yeah. And first, this episode was shared and brought to us and sponsored by Dan. So thank you, Dan, for another vibe here. I'm sure it's going to be much interesting.
Yeah.
First, guys, welcome and explore. Enjoy. Stay tuned with us to the end.
And don't forget to subscribe. Maybe you're new here or you love what we do. Remember, we react to music, comedy, videos, movies, documentaries. We love exploring, so you are in the right place if you love exploring. And in case you have your favorite as well, just like Dan, you can share your favorite with us via our Buy Me a Coffee link. We have a link on the description of this particular video. Check it out. We also have our Patreon channel whereby we post movies there and even other videos maybe that are blocked from YouTube. So consider joining our Patreon as well using the link below and share your favorite movies via our Buy Me Coffee. We will appreciate it. So
let's go.
Let's see what this video is all about.
Most of the time you drive along with no thought of emergencies. But without warning, there comes a moment when you must be absolutely sure you can depend on your brakes. And you can get that.
In 1960,
I think they're talking about a car.
Yeah, cars and brakes.
Okay, in 1964,
a Pontiac GTO could hit 60 miles an hour in under 7 seconds. Stopping it from 60 took over 300 feet. That gap between
okay, that's really interesting.
How fast American cars could go and how fast they could stop is one of the most overlooked stories in automotive history, and it all comes down to a fight between two pieces of iron bolted to each wheel, the drum and the disc. Let's get into it.
Okay.
By the early 1950s, drum brakes were about as standard as a steering wheel. Every American manufacturer, from Chevrolet to Cadillac, used four-wheel hydraulic drum brakes. And on paper, there wasn't much reason to change.
So that's a drum brake.
Yeah,
a drum brake works by using hydraulic pressure from the wheel cylinder to push two curved brake shoes outward against the inside of a spinning metal drum. It's what engineers call a self-energizing design, meaning the rotation of the drum itself helps wedge the leading shoe tighter against the drum wall, which multiplies the clamping force well beyond what the driver's foot alone is putting into the pedal.
Yeah.
That servo effect is actually a brilliant piece of mechanical engineering. It meant a driver could stop a 2-ton sedan without power assist at all, using nothing more than leg strength and leverage, which made drums cheap to produce, simple to package inside a wheel, and frankly, good enough for the speeds most American cars were actually driving at the time. The problem is that good enough only stays good enough as long as
So they determine the speed at which the cars are being driven. Right.
Yeah, and I think he's explaining to us first on how brakes work, and I've never get that much curious to know how maybe it works.
So like brakes will determine the speed at which the car can go. They like how the brakes will determine that.
He has been giving us like a car speed and how the drum brakes helps in stopping it. Like if he started by giving us an example, if a car can take, I said something miles, we'll give it a rewind maybe at the end, and it gives a 30 something. To like a car can take off like take off a starter like maybe say 10 meters in a second if you start the car, and it takes like 5 meters in a second to stop it. So he's explaining for us how the drum brakes work. Have you ever asked yourself how cars get to stop in high speed? Yeah, and you're just pressing your legs with a low, maybe less energy, but it is stopping a high energy moving car. Yeah, so that difference, like use less energy to stop a high speed car with less energy. How the energy multiplies to make it possible for it to stop.
Okay.
Yeah.
As the conditions don't change, and starting in the mid-1950s, they changed fast.
Okay. I never thought of that. Like, how do they work, by the way?
As long as you have the car, it's driving and
Yeah,
the brakes are good. You
yeah.
never like
Horsepower
imagine how they
exploded
work.
through the 1950s. Chrysler's Hemi, Chevrolet's small block V8, and Cadillac's big inch engines were pushed.
Even these small cars, the old school, the old model ones had a V8 engine.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And always they are my best looking cars.
They are called, he mentioned the name Chevrolet.
I think Chevrolet was a type of a car.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
I think there are these now types of cars.
Types of cars. But
Yeah.
I'm really much curious to learn on them because they're my best.
Pushing cars to speeds that would have seemed reckless a decade earlier. The new interstate highway system signed into law in 1956 meant more cars cruising at sustained highway speeds for longer stretches and more cars descending long mountain grades on cross-country trips than ever before. All of that horsepower and all of that speed had to go somewhere when the driver hit the pedal, and that's where the drum brake's core weakness showed up: heat management.
Okay.
Here's the actual physics of the problem. A drum brake is essentially a closed metal can with the shoes working against the inside surface. When you're braking hard, kinetic energy converts into heat at the friction surface, and that heat needs somewhere to escape. But because the shoes are enclosed inside the drum rather than exposed to open air, the heat has nowhere good to go. It just keeps building with every application. Repeated hard braking, like coming down a mountain pass or slowing from highway speed multiple times in a row, causes the drum itself to heat up and physically expand outward. As the drum expands away from the shoes, the driver has to push the pedal further and further down just to get the same stopping force, and eventually you can shove the pedal to the floor and get almost nothing back. That's brake fade. In the worst cases, extreme heat could even boil the brake fluid in the lines, introducing compressible vapor into a system that's supposed to be an incompressible hydraulic circuit, which made the pedal go soft and spongy on top of everything else. Fade wasn't a theoretical engineering concern sitting in a lab somewhere. It was showing up on real roads, in real accidents, and racing teams were seeing it firsthand on tracks where drivers braked hard, lap after lap, from ever-increasing speeds. A brake system that worked perfectly on lap 1 could feel like it had nothing left by lap 20. Here's a fact that surprises a lot of people. America didn't wait until the muscle car era to try disc brakes. It happened much earlier, and it happened twice, in two very different corners of the industry. Chrysler was first. In 1949, the Crown Imperial was fitted with a four-wheel disc brake system adapted directly from aircraft landing gear technology, developed with help from Goodyear. Aircraft brakes had already solved the heat dissipation problem for landing heavy planes at high speed on short runways, and Chrysler engineers figured the same open rotor principle could apply to a 2.5-ton luxury sedan. It worked, and it worked well by the standard.
This works also on the planes.
Yeah, now he's giving us drum brakes. He says why Detroit could let go of drum brakes. He's giving us first on the early development of brakes on more locomotives on the cars. And first he uses drum brakes that were first being used. And he has given us how challenging were they on speeding cars, maybe on the first time, or maybe when you are racing, maybe on the a long distance. Let's say not racing, maybe you're using your own car. On the long distance, at first when you start driving on the first kilometers, you feel like you are having your brakes working. But as it goes by, the heat hits that metal and it expands. So the force that you are using to maybe press is it that clutch or the brakes, to press the brakes, you'll take much energy, or maybe you can even press the brakes to the floor of the car and it's not even working.
Oh, because it has expanded.
It has expanded. So
Okay.
after that, they had to they had to look for
Find
another
an alternative.
So the first alternative was this disc brake, that was basically used on the place that had they overcome that challenge of heat.
Okay.
Yeah, so that
standards of the day, but it was expensive to manufacture at scale, requiring tighter machining tolerances than Chrysler's drum brake lines were set up for. Chrysler quietly phased the system out over the next several years rather than invest in the tooling to bring the cost down. Then, also in 1949, tiny Crosley motors made an even bolder move. The Crosley Hotshot, a lightweight little roadster with a 44 cubic inch four-cylinder engine, came standard with four-wheel disc brakes across the entire model line, using a caliper design that had originally been developed for aircraft applications. It should have been a landmark achievement, and in a sense it was. The Hotshot's brakes were arguably the first true modern-style caliper disc brakes fitted standard to any mass-produced car in the world, beating the more famous European examples by several years. But Crosley didn't have the manufacturing precision or the metallurgy to make them durable in everyday use. Road salt corroded the components, seals failed, and owners complained about calipers sticking. Within about a year, Crosley quietly reverted the entire lineup back to drum brakes, and most surviving Hotshots on the road today have been converted back to drums at some point in their history, since replacement disc parts became nearly impossible to find. So America had the right idea twice in the very same year on both a luxury flagship and an economy roadster, and both times the execution wasn't ready for prime time.
So the disc brakes were quite expensive to put them in the market.
And also to maintain, because as time by using maybe you are on wet roads, muddy roads, the disc kind of came corroded with mud, and then application it gives like a bicycle vibe when you use in terms of mud. It
produces some kind of
and it's not that comfortable and not that efficient to use.
By the way.
It would take a racetrack on the other side of the Atlantic to prove the concept could actually work under real punishment. In 1953, a Jaguar C-Type fitted with Dunlop disc brakes won the
Jaguar C-Type.
Jaguar. Now we have been seeing Jaguars like Harriers. There is a Jaguar looking like an Harrier car.
Okay. For me, I'm not familiar with the names of the cars.
Yeah, but for me, I'm a car lover. With this one, if you get me this one, I'll be like, ooh, see this.
But they look so cute. I think in our country you can't
get one, but I know it.
You can find maybe one of the prominent people has it.
Back then, by the way, from maybe royal families.
Royal families, prominent people has them, but
I'm sure even
normal people, oh my god.
If we have this car, the car could be more famous than us.
Yeah, you will be famous all over. People will be coming to tour your home just to take a ride.
Maybe to rent, to shoot with
or
videos.
They will offer you to take it to maybe a museum for people to come and
it's 53 guys. A Jaguar C-Type filled with, let's continue from there.
24 hours of Le Mans. This wasn't a marginal win. Jaguar's competitors, running conventional drum brakes, were forced to brake earlier and more conservatively into every corner because their drums were fading under the sustained punishment of a 24-hour endurance race. The Jaguar, by contrast, could brake later and later into corners, lap after lap, without losing pedal feel, because the disc's open design let heat radiate away into the passing air almost as fast as it built up. There was no enclosed drum trapping that heat against the friction material. Jaguar backed that Le Mans win up again that same season at the Mille Miglia in Italy, where the disc-equipped C-Type shrugged off hours of mountain pass braking that would have cooked a drum-equipped car. That single stretch of results did more to legitimize disc brakes than 50 years of patents and prototypes combined. 2 years later, in 1955, Citroën brought disc brakes to a genuine mass-production consumer car with the DS, mounting the front discs inboard next to the transmission to reduce unsprung weight and improve ride quality. By the late 1950s and into the 1960s, disc brakes were becoming standard equipment across European performance cars, from Jaguar, Mercedes-Benz, and eventually just about everyone building.
Have you seen that Mercedes-Benz?
Yeah.
Oh. I think now I'm changing from Jaguar to Discbrakes.
Anything sporty on that side of the Atlantic.
No.
American manufacturers were watching closely, but American manufacturers were also, as always, watching their bottom line. And Detroit doesn't retool a factory over a European racetrack result.
So Detroit is a factory.
Yeah, I wanted to ask because we saw Detroit in the baseball.
Oh, the Rangers. Oh, the Tigers. The Tigers.
It was also Detroit or the Tigers.
Yeah, Detroit.
Yeah.
Detroit.
So I was like confused. Is it a company? Is it a name of the place?
The first time why Detroit couldn't let go of Drumbrakes. So you thought are the gamers of
I thought like
it's
confusing me. The name is confusing me. So is it a name of a company, a place?
I think it's a company manufacturing cars.
Uh-huh.
Let me not give you a mislead.
Alone. The next serious American attempt came from an unlikely source, Studebaker, a company that by the early 1960s was fighting for its survival. In 1963, the Studebaker Avanti launched with Bendix-supplied front disc brakes as standard equipment, a genuine first for a mass-production American car built at real volume. Studebaker also made front discs optional that same year on its Hawk and Lark V8 models. Ironically, it may have been Studebaker's desperation that made its engineers willing to take a risk that bigger, more conservative manufacturers weren't ready to gamble on. When you're losing the sales war anyway, you might as well try to win on engineering. The real turning point for the American mainstream came in 1965, when the Chevrolet Corvette Stingray made four-wheel disc brakes standard equipment. This was a massive statement from General Motors' Halo car, and it mattered because the Corvette had genuine performance credibility with the buying public. If Chevrolet's engineers thought a Corvette needed discs to handle its power and speed, that sent a message up and down the entire industry. Around the same time, Ford began offering front disc brakes as an option on the Thunderbird, and notably the Lincoln Continental, using calipers supplied by Kelsey Hayes, a supplier that would become almost synonymous with early American disc brake hardware for the rest of the decade. Bendix, meanwhile, was supplying much of General Motors' early disc hardware, and the two companies effectively raced each other to refine caliper designs and bring manufacturing costs down through the mid-1960s. But here's the part that a lot of people don't realize. Even after the Corvette went all-disc in 1965, most other American cars, including plenty of high-performance ones, kept drums on all four corners well into the 1970s. Front discs became a common option through the mid to late 1960s, but they were usually optional, and they usually cost extra, sometimes a substantial amount extra, on a car whose buyer had already stretched the budget for a big block engine.
Okay.
Your next hit.
Oh, for a big engine.
So they also came and implemented the disc.
It was still being used because it's a cheaper option compared to the drum brakes compared to the disc one. So there is a time the disc was in the Corvette and the disc really surpassed the drums. They were majorly used.
This is where the story gets genuinely strange, and it's the heart of what makes this such a forgotten battle. The muscle car era, from roughly 1964 through the early 1970s, produced some of the most powerful engines ever put in an affordable American car. A 1965 Mustang could be ordered with a 289 cubic inch V8, and by 1965 and 1966, Kelsey Hayes 4-piston front disc brakes were available as an option on that same Mustang. But plenty of buyers didn't check that box because it added real money to the sticker price. Drum brakes were still standard, and a lot of first-generation Mustangs, GTOs, and Chevelles left the factory with drums at all 4 corners, regardless of how much horsepower sat under the hood. Think about that for a second. You could order a car with a big block engine making 350, 375, sometimes over 400 horsepower, and unless you specifically paid extra for the disc brake option, you were stopping that car with essentially the same basic drum technology that had been standard since the 1930s.
Okay.
Is this looking good? So he says the drums car were kind of cheaper compared to the disc brakes. Yeah, and
for the disc brakes you have to pay a little extra.
Have you ever seen a Mustang? It looks good.
Automotive journalists and racers of the era noticed this immediately, and it became something of a running joke in period road tests. Muscle cars developed a reputation for going like a rocket in a straight line and then struggling badly to slow back down, especially after 2 or 3.
It can like literally speed. It can in speed it's so fast, but stopping is kind of
slow.
Yeah. But it will be prone to accidents.
Hard stops in a row cooked the drums and brought on fade right when a driver needed the brakes most. Part of the reason discs stayed optional for so long comes down to cost and manufacturing capacity, not just customer preference. Disc brake calipers required tighter machining tolerances and different production tooling than the drum brake shoes and wheel cylinders that factories were already set up to build by the millions every year. Kelsey Hayes and Bendix were both racing to scale up disc brake production through the mid-1960s, and for a while, supply simply couldn't keep pace with demand if every performance buyer had wanted them at once. There's a well-known example from Chevrolet's Camaro program. When the 1969 Camaro's 4-wheel disc brake option, identified by its own RPO code, became available, ongoing supplier shortages limited production to only around 200 cars for the entire model year, even though Chevrolet needed those cars built specifically to legally homologate the setup.
This is another one, Chevrolet. Okay, I'm giving you a variety of favorites.
For Trans Am racing. Those 200 cars are worth 6 figures at auction today. Large.
Like how can all of this can be your favorite? Like you have to choose at least one.
They are model like they are like I'll go with to the
because there were so few of them. It's also worth mentioning that stock car racing, oddly enough, lagged behind. NASCAR's top series stuck with drum brakes on its full-bodied stock cars for years after road racing series had already gone over to discs, partly because the high-speed oval tracks NASCAR ran on didn't demand the same kind of sustained, repeated hard braking that a road course with tight corners did. When your foot barely touches the brake pedal at Daytona, a drum brake's weakness matters a lot less. That's a good reminder that the best brake technology has always depended on what kind of punishment a car is actually built to take.
Okay, that makes sense.
Through the late 1960s and into the early 1970s, the balance finally started shifting for good. As disc brake manufacturing matured and per-unit costs came down, more manufacturers began making front discs standard rather than optional, particularly as cars grew heavier with added emissions equipment, sound insulation, and federally mandated safety features that all added weight without adding stopping power. By the mid-1970s, front disc brakes paired with rear drums, a combination that balances superior front-end stopping power with lower production cost, had become the standard configuration across most of the American auto industry, a layout that would remain the default for decades afterward. Rear drums stuck around far longer than front drums for a few practical reasons worth understanding. Rear wheels do less of the actual stopping work than the front wheels, since weight transfers forward under braking and loads up the front tires, so the heat and fade problem was simply less severe out back. Drums also made it much easier to package a mechanical parking brake, since a disc caliper needs a separate mechanism to hold a car in place when it's parked, while a drum brake can incorporate that function with far less added hardware. That's a big part of why you'll still find drum brakes on the rear axle of plenty of economy cars built decades after discs conquered the front. Full four-wheel disc setups took even longer to trickle down from performance flagships like the Corvette and eventually the Camaro and Trans Am to everyday family sedans. But the direction was set, and it never really reversed. The drum brake wasn't dead. It still does a perfectly good job on the rear axle of millions of cars built right up to the present day. But its days as the default choice on the front, where most of a car's stopping power and heat generation happens, were numbered from the moment that Jaguar crossed the finish line at Le Mans in 1953. So the next time you see a first-generation Mustang or an early GTO roll by, take a look at what's actually behind those wheels. There's a decent chance it's still running the drum brakes it left the factory with. A quiet reminder that even the fastest cars of the era weren't always built to stop as well as they could go. What do you think? Would you have paid extra for the disc brake option back then? Drop a comment and let me know. Thanks for watching.
Well, thanks, guys, for the info and for the dilemma at the end, because I think, is there any generation of a car that uses front with the disc and rear, that the rear wheels are the back wheels with drums? Because I have noticed that it can be much efficient to use
both of them. Oh no.
Because most of the front.
So right now, like which brakes are most like cars using at the moment? Is it the disc brakes, or maybe something else was invented?
No, it's the disc. I have seen the disc more and the.
Because he mentioned that the disc came to take over, it has taken over, and then the drum brakes are now very rare. But maybe you can find the models of the maybe 60s, 70s models having the drum brakes right now. But I think the disc brakes are like took over.
Let me see, and the disc brakes, which one are they?
But at the moment, I think maybe we are still using the disc brakes.
Today, let me Google for today. We see which one is the most popular. Today, disc are the most popular on modern cars. Disc brakes usually are on almost new cars for the front wheels. Many modern cars have them on the rear wheels. Better stopping power.
Yeah, because they mentioned that the disc brakes took over, and
Yeah,
the
because
drum
of them.
brakes like
on the drum brakes, Google is telling us that are still found on the rear wheels of many budget and compact cars because they are cheaper to manufacture, last a long time, and works well for parking brakes. Oh, okay.
But for like speed, the disc brakes works better.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. I think most of the time we just.
So I think he's saying that in modern, but many versions have front disc and rear drums brake. So in just the way I've said, in many modern, it's on the front wheel. It's on the front wheel.
The rear drums brake and
rear the back wheels.
That's like same with drum brakes.
Yeah, so it has been manufactured in a way that Google is saying, but many versions have a front disc brake and rear drum brakes. Yeah. and some versions have disc brakes in all four wheels. So there is this option. You have four wheels. There are two front wheels and two rear wheels. Those are the two back wheels. So there's these versions that have the two front wheels use a disc brake, and the back rear wheels use the drum brakes. But for others, for the cheaper ones, cheaper models of cars, they tend to use just drum brakes.
Yeah, but you mentioned that with time, like cars just adapted the disc brakes because like they became cheaper. Most companies manufactured them and all that, so it became like cheaper.
And it's efficient to use, like its accuracy in terms of accident oriented method. But thank you, Dan, for this fast. It has been so engaging and so relatable, because I think we all use methods of movements like locomotive cars.
Everyone uses a car at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's good like to get to know these things. I think most of us just, as long as the car is good, functioning so well, driving, you can't like bother getting to see like which type of brakes am I using, like which what makes this car to stop. Like we'll never bother that.
it gives me a sense that in a climbing in a hill, like when a car is parked on a hill, the handbrake that's usually being used is drum brakes, because they have said it's more efficient for parking. Yeah, the drum brakes.
But not in all cars.
Not in all cars, but they are being used for parking on the rear wheels.
Yeah, in some cars.
Yeah, okay, there's much good information for us. And also the model of cars, like I've seen like where we all started. I've been just admiring the old models, but we have really came from far.
By the way, even if you see the models they're showing us, the V8 models of the 50s, 60s, they were looking so different, like
and
compared to what you are seeing at the moment.
Yeah, for today's V8 engine cars have been made more bigger.
They're so big.
In terms of what we have seen there. And that's our V8 engine with 400 horsepower, but they're small in size.
Exactly, but at the moment they're so different. You can't like tell this was a V8 in the 60s, 50s.
And guys, there are still these types of cars in your place, maybe. Which generation are you like using now? Are you using?
I feel like they are more maybe popular in America, because even most of the videos, music videos that we've seen, they're shooting with the cars.
And there's this other bands that do like this. Not
they
the
explained that. They explained to us, I think, in a particular song we did. They were like, I don't know, it's called something. It's I think it's called, it has a name that those cars have, that it makes the car to like bounce like that.
The recent one is a GLE, Benz GLE, that bounces, but not that much as you guys the 70s.
Yeah, at the moment I think they were putting something. It had like something that makes it bounce.
Is this still there? Because it looks good.
It's still there. I think it's still there.
I see me bouncing.
It's still there. It's still there, but maybe not popular in our country.
In our country you can't get one.
It's still there.
Okay. So thank you guys for watching this. Share your love on the cars. Or which one are you driving? Tell us. Don't forget to subscribe. Then keep the fire burning by bringing your favorite. But I've seen there's another one on cars too. We'll be jumping into soon. So stay tuned.
Thank you so much for your time. This was so educative. To some of us who doesn't have like most knowledge in cars, I think this is so educative to us. So thank you so much for your time. Share your knowledge too. We will appreciate, and we hope to see you soon.
Thanks for watching.
Bye bye.